Okay. Let's continue where I left off yesterday. I believe yesterday I was working on this and I realized that the hints about using the delimiter really were necessary. So I think I left off adding the delimiter on the encoder, and then I just have to implement tracking that delimiter in the decoder. So let's see. I think J still has to start from the beginning of string S. We want to iterate all the way up until the first delimiter. That way we can grab the integer represented by the string. And see, I think I can show a whiteboard, which is what I was looking at, to give a clearer picture. That should work. Okay, so we starting from 0 on the string, we want to iterate up until the first occurrence of the delimiter. Once that happens, we want to grab I'm trying to think, how can we grab the correct number of before the delimiter? What I was thinking was I wanted to grab these characters here and then convert them into an int. To do that, I would have to know the index of the first value. We know the ant index because we've seen the delimiter. Then we could just do -1, but we don't know how long. Yeah, we don't know how many indexes we are behind. I mean, we would know for the first one, but anything after that would not make sense, would it? What can I do for this? What if I use the stack? I could use a table, I think. Where the key is the length of the string. And the value is the string itself, maybe? So let's see. I'm going to start a new string as okay. What if I do yes, substring I place in the value in this substring, then I can move the iterator and if we meet the delimiter, then we know the string starts one index after. And the length is 5. So we could add 5. We can move our pointer plus 5 indexes. We could also grab this string, convert it into an int, and place it in the key column. Now we know where the string actually starts. So I'm just gonna add the indices here. Okay. So what we can do to grab the substring You could use the method that we used for the decoder, sorry, for the encoder. Actually, I don't have it on there. I think I had it on there yesterday. But essentially, there's this method is standard substring or subset, something like that, which allows us to grab a substring from a string if we can identify the starting and ending index. So what we would do is we would go from the pointer, which is called j. We would go grab the substring, from j plus 1 up till j plus this key. Or we'll call this size, and that'll make it easier to understand. In order to grab this value, we would have to do, like, let's say this is S, we'd have to do SJ, which would give us the string or the character. And we could add the character to the string. And then once we get to the delimiter, we could convert the full string. Let's keep going and then we'll see how it works with a 2-digit, which should work with more than 2 digits. So let's continue with this one. So now we want to grab the substring from this string as, starting from j plus 1, which is one index after the delimiter, all the way up to j plus size, and size is the size of the full string. And we'll use that string as the value. I'm trying to think, do we even need the table? We might be able to do without the table. We can just use a temporary string that we can increase its characters. Then when we get to the delimiter, we get its size, and we only really need the size to be able to grab the substring. We won't need the key ever again. So I think we could do without the table. I'll leave it there for now. It kind of really helps tie in the fact that the size of the string is being mapped to the actual length of the substring coming from S. Okay, so after we grab the substring, hello, we will move J to, from its current index, plus the size plus 1. That should move us as the end of the substring we cared about to the beginning of the integer of the next word or the next substring. Then we can, I'm going to call this temp size or string size as a string. So we'll grab J, and J would be and then if it's not the delimiter, then we can continue incrementing J plus 1. And so essentially we're doing this. This will be 1, then we'll increment J plus 1, and that will move J 1 index. We would check, is it the delimiter? It's not, it's still a value. And so we can add that value, the string size, and then we can move it again, plus 1. We could check if it's the delimiter. This time it is the delimiter. So we know that string size is complete, and we can now convert it to an integer. Like I said, we could just save that in an int. I'm going to put it on the table, but we won't be using a table. Okay. So now that we found the delimiter, we want to grab the substring, which is essentially this part here, which is going to be J plus 1 up till J plus size. And that should give us this whole word here. Which we can then put into our value. Because we won't be using a table, we could use a vector. We'll be using a vector, so when we're grabbing the substring, we'll just put it into a vector. We'll just push. Like that. And I believe as long as J plus 1, or sorry, as long as this equation here is not out of bound, we can continue with the algorithm. But we'll move on back to the whiteboard and try to code the solution. Okay. So we'll start with J equals 0. as long as j is less than the end of the string, we won't need an inner loop, but we will need to increment j. So the first condition is we want to increment j by one value, by a single value, which is 1. And we will only increment by 1 if it's not, if the character at that index is not our delimiter. We can do, and I guess I should write a comment here, make it a little bit more clear. I should also have the resulting vector. So we could say while j is not our delimiter, we can increment by 1, and we can grab the substring. Sorry, we can I'm thinking we can create the size string. Okay. So also I forgot to add, we will need another buffer. We'll call it what we called it in the whiteboard, which is string size. Is this making sense? Let's see. So if sj is not equal to, I think this is how we compare characters. Then we can increment, well, first we should put into the string size the current value. String size. And I think this is how we do it. I think I'll be fine using the same variable name because it's in a different scope. Yeah, so we just want to add the current character. I believe this is how I grab it. So once we add that into the buffer, we can then increment j by 1. And then we'll do else. And this will indicate that we've met the delimiter. And in such a case, we can, let's see, convert the string into an int. I don't know how to do that. So let's look that up. C++ string to int. Okay. Okay, so if we met the delimiter, we want to convert string size into an integer. Then we want to grab the substring and I don't remember how to do that. So let's look up how to get a substring from a string. I should probably say it's from C++. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I think I was doing it right. We want to start from J. until I think it's j plus 1. I'm not sure why my j keeps not working unless I type another letter. Let's see, so it's j plus size. And what we want to do is push this onto the vector. I'm not gonna let us do that. Okay, it's fine. Huh. Am I doing this wrong? Wait a minute. So I can do and then we can put that onto the vector. What am I missing here? Okay, once we do that, we want to clear size. Or actually we could, I don't have to worry about that. I think the only thing I have to worry about is clearing string size. Okay, let's look that up. It might be a little faster if I just ask Claude. Yes, I want to empty the string. You just clear it like that. Let's just use clear then. Okay, the reason we want to clear it is because once we move j to the next valid number in the string s, we don't want to keep adding values to this. It's more like a buffer. We want a clean slate. Okay, so but before we could clean that. One other thing is we will move the pointer, which is J, to the next string size. And the way we do that, we do J equal to itself plus plus size plus 1. Then we can continue with the outer loop. I think this is it. So in this part of the code, we're pushing to the results. We're essentially separating. We're separating the words from this single string. So we could do, I think that's it. My only concern is that J might go out of bounds. I'm not sure this quite catches that. Let's see. What if we just return? Let's try to run that. Okay. What am I missing here? For an example, how to use this. So maybe we want to do like if it's equal to or actually I guess it's not equal to it. Okay. I'm missing the mark here. Okay, we need a hint. Why is this breaking? See if we could get a valid hint. I'm not quite sure what's making it break. But I included it. Also, that's not where my error is at. Wait, what? Wait, why would I mean this? Like, in what world would I mean that? That's not what I typed. That doesn't make sense. Or what? Do I have to cast it into a string? Can you cast like Java? Yeah, think time was up. So we're gonna take a quick 5 minute and I'll be back. Okay. So in my break, looking over some of the stuff chat was saying, I essentially had this correct. It was not what I had before, which was as long as j is not equal to s dot end. So that was right. And then it also said it should have been this way. This way. I think it is still +1, I think. I'm gonna ask it. I think it should be like +1. Oh, wait. No, this is right. This is right. I was thinking of the wrong thing. I don't know what this means. Wait, how is that comparison invalid? They're both numbers. Okay, we can do that. Why do we use... We can try that. Wait, but now it breaks the whole comparison down. We were using J as the pointer. Wait, I can just do like size. Let's see. Yeah, grab that. we'll just do less than size. Okay, perfect. We solved it. This is my first time using format 2 and back insert. Essentially what I was trying to do was create this buffer, string buffer, where I could continuously append characters to it, and this would then be converted into an integer. So that's what I was using this for. And chat said that because they're single characters, we could essentially just add them with this operator. And so we can do without. This one was a little bit more complicated. Essentially, the brackets represent a space where you will put the parameters into. So for example, the first pair of brackets, we're going to put this first parameter. Let's assume this is the first parameter. It's kind of doesn't make sense because this is technically the first parameter, but we'll essentially put this parameter into this first pair of brackets and followed by the by our delimiter. Then in our second pair of brackets will be the full string. Okay. I think this is like worst solution. It might be even slower than, let's see. What is this encoding? It might be even worse than this. Yeah. Okay. I'll double check the time complexity, but I think it's worse than the worst solution. It is not. It's the right solution. I would have thought that taking the substring would have made this like n by m. But I guess not. Okay. All right, we'll leave it there for today. And then I think we have a couple more stack questions. Or sorry, it was an array question. We have 3 more array questions. And we'll move on to something else.